Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I am joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, how you doing? Last minute on this podcast, didn't know if we were going to get in or not, but of course, we got to get it in. How you doing?
Yes, of course. Doing all right. Let's get this thing going.
Let's do it. As always, let's just start it off with this, guys. As always, thanks for listening to this podcast here, Talking Halos, making us the best podcast out there, and best Angels podcast out there. I really do believe that. I think that we're doing a fantastic job, Nate, by the way. If you could, go ahead and subscribe wherever you are listening or watching us. Hello, YouTube, like always. Got to shout it out there, doing fantastic things on there. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms. You can follow Nate at NateGreen34. You can follow us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, to get all of your Talking Halos updates on there. So, Nate, let's start this podcast off with a question. You guys all know I like to do the question of the day. So we had two new rules that got instituted by none other than Rob Manfred. I would assume, I don't know, it seems like it was agreed, and I'm going to air quote this for you guys not watching us on YouTube, agreed upon. But as we know, Rob Manfred does make the rules. And we're going to – how do you feel about this? First, let's talk about it. Let's get it off, for those who don't know what's going to happen. Ghost runners coming back on second base. Just right off the bat, I hate that. And then the Shohei Ohtani rule comes into play. So let's first start off with the base runner at second base and extra innings. We can just say it right now. It's the worst rule in baseball, correct? Trash.
Yeah, we can move on from that one.
Fantastic.
We're never going to be okay with that one. It is what it is.
And again, I know we did get a lot of hate on the last podcast, especially you for whining,
complaining.
And we're not complaining.
That rule is just trash. But yeah, let's move on to the Brendan McKay rule. That's what I call it.
Brendan McKay rule, the Shohei Ohtani rule.
The reason why I call it the Brendan McKay rule is because they put it in college baseball for Brendan McKay, and that's where it's come from. So I've used it in high school. I've used it in college. I love the rule. I think it really gives pitchers that are able to hit an opportunity to hit, and it gives some of these guys that, maybe they come from high school as a two-way guy or college as a two-way guy, and some teams give them a chance to be a two-way. Well, now they can hit and DH in the same game, and, teams won't be at a disadvantage of, oh, hey, we started our pitcher as our hitter, and then he comes out of the game and, in the fourth inning, fifth inning, sixth inning, because, they only are allowed to face the lineup twice, they have to pinch hit for the pitcher or whoever's up for, or they have to run a double switch or whatever it is. So I love this rule. It makes things a lot easier when Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. He's able to DH and pitch and stay in the rest of the game. This is a huge, huge win for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this rule, for those who don't know, Shohei Ohtani, when he starts, or even I believe Michael Lorenzen, when he starts, can stay in as a DH if they start the game hitting. So if Michael Lorenzen starts the game hitting, I don't know how often that's going to happen, if that is ever going to happen. But if he starts the game hitting, Angels decide to stick with Lorenzen instead of Shohei Ohtani for some reason, DHing, then they will continue to hit throughout the game. They become the DH. So mainly for Shohei Ohtani, why we're going to call it Shohei Ohtani rule. Again, it was instituted high school, instituted in college, Brendan McKay rule. But yes, fantastic rule. This really helps out the Angels. It does allow Shohei Ohtani to go deeper into games, correct?
Yeah, but even if he doesn't, it allows the Angels to, if Ohtani doesn't have it, they are allowed to quick hook him. I think that's the biggest thing. Because, yes, he's able to go deeper in the game, but when this rule wasn't in effect, you wanted him to go deep into the game. So you didn't have to pinch it for some reliever, or you didn't have to double switch or whatever it is. But for some reason, if Shohei Ohtani doesn't have it for one day, it allows them to quick hook, go to a Jaime Barria or, whoever it may be, and Shohei Ohtani can finish the day as the designated hitter and still help the team offensively. So I love it.
And not have like they did in the Yankee game. I mean, there was only one start last year. That Yankee game was just brutal. That killed Shohei Ohtani's ERA. I think he gave up, the 8 spot or something like that, 7 spot in the first inning. You don't have that anymore. Not that Shohei Ohtani, I mean, if it's a 1-in-20 type of thing where Shohei Ohtani doesn't make it out of the first inning, I think we're doing okay. But how many games were we sitting there thinking all right, Shohei Ohtani can give you another inning. Shohei Ohtani can give you another 2 innings or something like that. But at this point, it's like, well, now we got to take him out of the game. Like there's so many times where,
Or
I
what
think
about the
Shohei
other
Ohtani
way?
probably gets the Shohei Ohtani gets to 150 innings last year because he threw 130, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This
Mm,
has this rule adds on an extra 20 innings for Shohei Ohtani pitching wise,
I don't
right?
know about that. I don't. I think I think he might actually lose a couple innings, honestly. As weird as that sounds, because there were times where we're watching Shohei Ohtani, he's up second in the inning, in the following inning, and it's like, oh, you got to run him back out there. He's at, 85, 90 pitches. Like, he's probably about done from a physical standpoint, just from where you've seen him in the last inning or so. And it's like, but we have to run him back out there because his spot is up, second next inning, and we need him to hit because we can't go double switch and you know Phil Gosselin's hitting for his spot or whatever it is. So it does. I think he could lose a couple innings from this, but he's going to gain what 60 more at bats, maybe
Yeah. And
40 more at bats. Like this is very huge for him.
I think the word that we're looking for, because we went both sides of the spectrum here, this is what we thought about. So I think the word that we're thinking for is flexible. I think this makes Shohei Ohtani a lot more flexible and a lot more of a dangerous player in a sense, which is pretty cool. So yeah, 2 new rules instituted today by the GOAT himself, Rob Manfred, doing fantastic things for Major League Baseball. If you can't hear it in my voice, just Rob Manfred doing fantastic things. So on to our next subject here. The Angels didn't make a trade, but they lost 2 top 40-ish prospects, depending on who you're talking about this week.
Your list. We'll go your list. So for sure.
Fangraphs had Kyle Tyler at 36, and they had Packy Naughton at 17, pretty close to where I have him. I think I have Kyle Tyler maybe a little high, a little bit lower. I'm a little more high on Tyler. I think
When he says lower, he means closer to 1, just for those of you.
Yeah, I do flip flop it. Sorry.
Yeah, I just making sure they know what we're talking about.
I do. But some very interesting moves. I'm not a fan of, and I'm excited for those 2 because they get a great opportunity to go play with 2 fantastic organizations in the Boston Red Sox, who picked up Kyle Tyler, and the St. Louis Cardinals, who Packy Naughton's going to fit right in there. I like that move for the Cardinals. But again, the way that I started this off, you can tell I'm not all that thrilled about it. The Angels already have a weak farm system, and now they're getting rid of more prospects that had more years, more options left. Pitching, by the way, as well, that the Angels have been hurting on. Homegrown pitching as well, might I add. I know Packy Naughton is kind of homegrown. They traded for him. He was in the Brian Goodwin trade.
Yep.
Still homegrown, still made his major league debut with the Angels. Starter ability there. I mean, multi-inning guy in Kyle Tyler. For me, it's just mind-boggling why you would make those type of moves when you have 6 or 7 players before them that, first off, you could probably sneak them through waivers. It wouldn't get picked up. 6. I'm not kidding. Like
yeah, we've gone over the list. It's definitely 5 or 6 for sure.
For sure, 5 or 6 players before those 2, and you can pick. I know probably some position players as well off that list. And I mean, we can just say the list right now that we would probably go ahead of it. It's probably Jimmy Herget.
Yep.
No offense to any of these players at all, by the way. I think they're all players. But Jimmy Herget, you could probably DFA before both these guys. We say Jack Mayfield, you can probably DFA.
Especially with the Duffy signing, yeah, it makes it easy.
I thought he would be the next one gone as well. And the thing that's going to hurt a lot is when they don't add Jack Mayfield to the 25, 26 man beginning of the season.
Oh, that's one more rule they changed. I forgot to mention that.
The 28?
It is 28 for April only. So in April, they will have 28 guys. Mayfield probably is on that list. Maybe May 1st, he's not on that list. It's possible he's not on the list May 1st. And then this really looks tough for Angel fans, as they know we lose 2 pretty good pitchers for us. One of them would have been a starting depth option where he would have been in AAA. And if somebody would have gotten hurt, he probably is the first guy called up. With Kyle Tyler, he had a shot to win a bullpen job, honestly. Mm-hmm. And even if he didn't win a bullpen job, he goes down and he's in the same exact spot as Packy Naughton, where he's probably the first guy up if anyone in the bullpen gets hurt or somebody doesn't pitch as well as we expect them to. So tough losses for the Angels for sure. Kyle Tyler, I see him making the Red Sox bullpen. I do. I think The Red Sox need some help there. As you can tell, their offense is going to mash. They're going to score a lot of runs, and if they can pitch just a little bit, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the American League. Packy Naughton, it's going to be tough for him to get in the rotation. He might make it because Jack Flaherty's going to start the year a little behind. He might not make the first start of the season for him. He might be 2 or 3 weeks behind, so Packy has a shot to get in there. But even if he starts the year in AAA there, I mean, Adam Wainwright's got 1 year left there. He has a shot to really make a name for himself by pitching really well for the AAA farm system in St. Louis. And actually, it's in Memphis, but you know what I'm saying. So 2 quality pieces going to organizations that typically do a really good job. And that's the kind of interesting thing to me is the Red Sox were not the first team to be able to claim Kyle Tyler. The Cardinals were not the first team to be able to claim Packy Naughton either. And the fact that they got to both those teams kind of shows that, good organizations are going to pick up good players.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then a couple other guys, and back on to Packy Naughton as well. Possible like depth bullpen arm too.
It could be the Andrew Miller of that bullpen because they did lose Andrew Miller. He could be a guy to get some lefties out, maybe even go two or three innings if the starter can't do his job. So he does have a lot of versatility. You love that. And I mean, we've seen it all the time. The guys who have been really, really good bullpen pieces have actually been starters beforehand. So really, really good pickup for the Cardinals and the Red Sox.
Absolutely. And a couple other guys, like we mentioned, I want to throw out the other names that I think that we would probably have DFA'd before that. Cooper Criswell, we saw him start one time. It's, an upper 80s type of guy who's going to get outs for you. But he's also dealing with a shoulder issue. I don't know, how many people will mess with a shoulder issue right now. By the way, Jonathan Diaz is another name that I think would probably go before.
Sneak through.
The Angels picked him up on a minor league free agent deal from the Red Sox. So kind of interesting as well. We mentioned Jimmy Herget. We can go down. We mentioned Jack Mayfield a little bit. There was one other guy. Oh, Jose Rojas. Jose Rojas was another guy where it was like, you can probably sneak him through waivers. He didn't get picked up in the Rule 5 draft. Yes, he's a good hitter and everything, but you signed all these. You signed all these guys. You have Rendon at third base. You have 18 second basemen and shortstop if you're going to put Rojas there, and you have Jared Walsh at first base and Justin Upton, and you can move some different guys to first base as well. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'll say that now. Very interesting moves. So on to our next topic here. See the Joe Adell home run today?
Of course, he had 2. That's his second home run of the spring. Really good news for Joe Adell coming out swinging, which is very, very important for him this offseason or this spring training. Excuse me.
Absolutely, and I have a weird feeling that you're not going to like him down the road just because of how streaky he can be, and it's very Justin Upton like. Yeah. But if he's putting up Justin Upton numbers at the beginning of his career, and I know everybody's like, Justin Upton sucks now. It's like, go look at Justin Upton, the former first overall pick, former one of the best prospects of all time. Besides, I think his brother might have been a pretty damn good prospect as well, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, even if he's putting up young Justin Upton numbers at some point, I mean, he's going to help the Angels out. He's going to put up a 4 WAR, 5 WAR. So,
all I ask is when he's streaky, just be streaky when it matters. That's all I'm asking for. That's my biggest pet peeve with Justin Upton is he seems to be streaky when the Angels are, lights are off and they're, 20 games out of first place. If Joe Adell can be streaky for the first month and then go cold for the next month and then get hot for the next month, I'll be fine with it because at least he'll be getting streaky in meaningful games. It feels like Justin Upton gets streaky in a lot of meaningless games in August and September when they're out of it already. So I won't be upset if Joe Adell can be good in meaningful games early.
Yeah. Again, if he's a 250, 260 hitter, getting on base at a 330, 340 clip with 25 jacks, 30. 25, 30, and
15, 20 stolen bases.
Yeah, it's an interesting player for sure down the road, and he's definitely there's a lot of hope to hold out on. Like he's got
a lot of potential.
He does. I'm excited to see what he does.
He's raw.
Yes.
He could definitely go off.
And you knew before he got drafted. I mean, I think he was a two-sport athlete in high school as well. He played multiple sports, and you can tell that baseball was his best sport, but it was like he's still got a lot to work on. He did, and that we're going to continue to see that. It's like the Jordan Adams thing. Jordan Adams could have played football. Jordan Adams, I've seen Jordan
College
Adams
football.
Yeah, he was going to play college football. I think to Duke, NC State.
I was going to say
North
NC
Carolina.
State or North Carolina, one
North
of those
Carolina.
two.
Yeah, he was going to be a Tar Heel as a wide receiver. He could have might have gone pro in the NFL as well. So most of these guys, these raw athletes, you got to give them a little bit more time to develop. And we're seeing the Angels actually do a pretty decent job with Joe Adell. A lot of swing changes with some of these guys, but it seems like it's working with Joe Adell. So I'm excited to see what. And again, this is like a way too early overhype on Joe Adell, but when he's hitting balls that far, it's like, all right, there's something we're going to see something, in a sense. So last thing that I want to talk about here, actually, I guess I got two things. Noah Syndergaard started today. I know you're not all that happy that he's starting down in a minor league game, but 22 pitches, 93 to 95 on the radar gun, according to, I think Jeff Fletcher put that out there. And that's a good sign. 93 to 95 is a little under what we think when we think of Noah Syndergaard, but 22 pitches, if he's coming out of this not too sore, you kick him up to 40 pitches maybe in his next start. Maybe we see him in a major league start, throw 40 pitches or something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm excited again to see Noah Syndergaard. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing that we have to keep in mind too is pitchers, their first couple outings in spring training, they're not going to be their typical velo. I mean, we're expecting Thor to be 96, 97, touching 100, 101 possibly, very similar to Ohtani velo-wise. But when you're looking at guys, they're coming off, possibly not throwing in a while, maybe only been on the mound once or twice. So, yeah, 93, 95 doesn't really scare me. If his velo goes down, the more starts he makes, that's going to be a huge red flag for me. But for right now, 93, 95 is great. And as long as he throws strikes, that's all that really matters, because if he can throw strikes at 95, he's still very, very tough to hit. I did see a quote from him saying the butterflies were coming out. He had a lot of butterflies in his first start today, pitching for the Angels. Even though it was a minor league game, he was still pretty amped up for that. So that's good to see that, when pitchers have that going, that means that they're juiced, and that means that things are exciting for them. So that means I expect big things out of him this year, especially if he's going to have that kind of emotion in a spring training minor league game. So I expect big things from Noah Syndergaard this year.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see it. So, you got any final thoughts? And good point with the lower velo, in a sense.
We always have to remind him, because
that's
something that gets brought up every year. Is people are like, oh man, his velo's down. So give him a couple starts. Final thoughts. Still be on the lookout for the Angels to sign a starting pitcher. I think that it has to happen. Losing Packy Naughton, Jared and I, off the record, we've gone over this. Packy was probably the 8th starter, 7th starter. I wouldn't say 7th starter, but with the injuries that we have so far, with Griffin Canning and Cooper Criswell going down a little bit with the shoulder fatigue and things like that, it could be time where Sam Bachman is the best available arm you have in the minor leagues, and that's probably not what you want to do in April of his first full year. So look for them to possibly go get one more arm just to solidify that rotation, especially in AAA. They're going to need some guys to go get some outs down there. And, like we said, the rosters are going to expand. There's going to be 28 guys on the roster to open things up. If there's an injury on the big league roster early, it's especially in the starting pitching range. If there's an injury on the starting pitching front, it is going to get very dicey very quickly. So I think they still need to get one more arm. Be on the lookout for guys like Johnny Cueto. Zach Davies just signed today. That would have been an interesting get, because he might have been able to sign a minor league deal. But yeah, just look for guys who might be willing to sign a minor league deal for a team that has a shot or claims they have a shot to win a division.
Yeah, final thought for me, sources. That's all I got. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos, making us the best podcast out there. Truly do believe it. Oh, is that a good one? Was that money or what? Sources?
They,
Sources?
they
We
don't get
got
it though. They don't
no,
get it.
no, 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 no. That
Uh,
no, no. That was good. That was good. All right. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast here, Talking Halos. Again, making us the best podcast out there. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Tims. You can follow Nate at NateGreen34. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.